Well, right at the start, I had a couple of business partners and we went looking for a building that was going to be suitable for a big indoor climbing centre. We knew that it was going to have a lot of volume and a lot of height, and we guessed that that was likely to be an old industrial building. So we wrote to lots of people who might have had buildings like that, and we wrote to Thames Water and they came up with this. And obviously the building's really exciting. I thought, yeah, it's a lovely building, but can we find somewhere where we can build a climbing centre, because it's really difficult to work with. But I was persuaded to give it a go, and it kind of worked.
It was built between 1852 and 1856 as a water pumping station. The architect was a chap called William Chadwell Milne, and it was commissioned as a response to the cholera epidemic in London, when they realised that there was a need for more fresh water and they needed something to pump the water through to the Islington reservoirs. At the time there was resistance to a big industrial building being built in the region, so typical of the Victorians, he built it in the style of a baronial castle. There were 3 towers with different styles, so kind of medieval and baroque and baronial all mixed together.
It had been derelict for 40 years before we got here. So, you know, it had a leaky roof, no stairs, no floor in a lot of places. Our engineers, who specialise in this kind of work, said they didn't think English Heritage would let us make the alterations we wanted to make, but we pushed ahead and asked anyway. And English Heritage were keen to see somebody in the building. They talked about what was important from their point of view, and we talked about what was important from our point of view, and we found that, you know, there was common ground. Obviously it's changed a lot in the time we've been here, 20 years. We started just in the main hall upstairs and have been gradually working our way out.
Like everybody else who sees the building for the first time, I was awestruck. It's just phenomenal. 3 towers in the middle of the city, and we can go inside and explore and go climbing.
The building is split up into 4 main components: the boiler house, the engine house, and the north and south towers. The engine house, as its name suggests, used to house 6 engines that were linked up in pairs to drive big rocker beams and flywheels which pumped the water out of the building towards the main reservoirs. They each turned 3 7.5-ton flywheels that were actually built around the ironwork in here. So the engines and the flywheels were here, and then the building was built around them. There are 3 false buttresses on the west side of the building, hollow buttresses that house the flywheels. So if you look up at that side, it looks like there are flying buttresses, but actually they're a folly.
Although it's big, it didn't really lend itself perfectly to climbing walls because it had all these cast iron beams running across the space. It was a big challenge to move any of those because they're enormous. We had a really good firm of engineers involved who knew a lot about moving heavy objects. With the right gear, it's amazing how easily you can shift a 3-ton lump of iron. One of the things English Heritage were keen on was that if we removed original features of the building, that we keep them on display so people could see what they were and where they'd come from. We removed a couple of the flywheel mounts before we even started building the rest of the centre. We took those out, and you'll find those are on display in the cafe because the cafe counter itself is actually made out of those 2 huge cast iron beams.
The castle back then was really different than it is now. It was so quiet. Climbing hadn't really taken off as a sport yet. So most of the building was actually not used yet for climbing. There were some climbing walls in it, but a huge amount of space was just empty. There was so much potential.
All the original climbing walls we built in 1995 were built by professional climbing wall manufacturers. Some of them are still here and some of them have been moved around. But very soon after we opened, I realised that we didn't have enough climbing walls, but I didn't have enough money to pay for it anymore. So the slab walls over by the fire exit upstairs, I built myself in 1996. That was very much a kind of home build project, and they're still going strong now. We moved into the downstairs after a couple of years and gradually rolled out more climbing walls there.
The boiler house is the main building downstairs, and it used to house coal-fired boilers. Most of them were removed when the building was decommissioned in the 1940s, but some of them, in fact 5 of them, still remain, and they're hidden behind the climbing walls, but we've got windows into some areas so you can look through and see them.
We'd just expanded the downstairs climbing areas, and then the next round of expansion was in 2005 when we built the mezzanine level in the boiler house. So that has the bouldering, the men's changing rooms, the mezz, the quarry. The next round of expansion was a long time in preparation because it involved 3 years of design and getting planning permission. And our idea was twofold. One, we wanted to expand all the climbing, but also we wanted to make the building as energy efficient as possible. The first new round of walls started opening in 2013.
The planning permission that we got in 2012 enabled us to open up some areas of the building that we hadn't used before. In particular, the old gantry level that used to be the access for the flywheels and the rocker beams, which we've now turned into a climbing area we call the loft. We've got a new staircase that links the loft with the wells. That staircase is made out of European green oak, and it's built in a minimal style. We're trying to be a sustainable business, so in our developments we're also trying to think about sustainability in design, so it's about keeping things minimal. So these stairs are a real testament to our sustainability policy, and also a great lead down through the old industrial parts of the building into the old pumping wells. We got permission to expand into the pumping wells. They were full of water when we took over the building, and in fact until 2012 they were full of water. So we pumped the water out, and we've now created 2 new climbing rooms, wells 1 and 2. And we're in the process of building wells 3 and 4 with new climbing areas that should be open late in 2015.
The wells downstairs, wells 1 and 2, opened in July 2014. That was a really satisfying part of the development work, was when you start opening up climbing walls and people can actually see what it is that you've been spending a lot of money and time on doing and actually enjoying the fruits of the labor.
On the south side of the boiler house, there are double doors that lead into our garden. For many years, our garden has been an area that was overgrown with weeds, but in 2009 we began a project to develop our garden into a sustainable food growing space. Now we are in a lucky position where we have lots of beds that grow food for our cafe, and we also license out a space to growing communities. We also, in the garden, have growing spaces for the local communities. Any members of our staff, our neighbours, our customers can come and apply for a growing space. So they're kind of like mini allotments on a very small scale. In 2013, we added some outdoor boulders. They opened in July, just in time for the summer season, and a lot of our customers have been enjoying climbing outside, which is a real unique opportunity in London. The southwest tower was built to house a water tank at the top to equalise the pressure in the pumping station, and it has a fantastic spiral cast iron staircase that English Heritage are very proud of. We currently use it for abseils, so people get to abseil down the middle of the tower, and we also do abseils off the outside of the tower. For special events, we also run a high line from the top of the tower to the centre of the chimney, which is quite a spectacle.
Oh my God, this is the most intense situation I've ever been in my entire life. Yeah!
In our big planning application in 2012, we had to look at the whole building and look at all areas of the building to see what we could further develop. We have connecting areas, what we call the vaults, which we hope to someday open into training rooms and more traversing. At the bottom of the tower that we are currently abseil in, there's a further 14 metres of height that we can put top roping in as well. So there's lots of different areas that are still potentially to be developed.
One of the developments I'm looking forward to this year is a new mezzanine level for the cafe, because the cafe's gotten so much better over the years. It's great, it's a nice place to hang out, the food's delicious. Unfortunately, it's a victim of its own success. All the staff want to eat there, all of our customers want to eat there, and we just haven't got enough space for everybody to sit. We desperately need a new mezzanine seating area, and I'm hoping we'll be able to do that in the next year. So our end goal for the castle is to be a long-standing business and to have it still running in 50 years' time as a climbing centre and to be as energy efficient as possible. What we've learned with the sustainability targets that we set for ourselves is it's a question that permeates absolutely everything we do.
We made some big commitments to our sustainability as a business. Although we've done quite a lot as a company, we haven't done huge amounts physically to the building yet, and that's probably in the next 5-year phase. I think the things we're looking at are, make the building more sustainable. We now know what we need to do and how much it's going to cost, so we can start rolling that out.
We got permission to put in a new roof. So whilst that's some way down the line, that is the ultimate goal. Instead of having a leaky, drafty Victorian building, to actually have an insulated, self-sustaining building. We also got permission to put in air source heat pumps to heat the building, which we're hoping to go ahead with, and to install solar panels onto the roof, so we'll have solar thermal to heat hot water and PV to generate our own electricity.
We want to continue to develop the climbing centre so that it's cutting edge and provides something for everyone, which is a fundamental aim of this place. And hopefully we'll react to the market and we'll hopefully invent some new stuff. Gradually over 20 years we've sort of spread until we're nearly occupying the whole building. Just one last push now and we'll be done.